Hello, friends. Welcome back to the book Quiller. Have you heard the phrase, you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool? These words by Richard Feynman set the tone for Ryan Holiday's powerful book, Ego is the Enemy. This book is a guide for anyone aspiring to achieve greatness, anyone who has tasted success, or anyone who has faced failure. In all these stages, the biggest enemy is not the competition, not the circumstances, it's our own ego. This book will take you through every chapter of the book in detail, sharing timeless lessons, historical examples, and practical wisdom to help you fight ego at every step of life. So, now let's begin with chapter 1. Chapter 1. Talk, talk, talk. Key idea. Those who know do not speak, those who speak do not know. Author opens this chapter with a striking example. Upton Sinclair, the author and activist, ran for a governor of California in 1934 to boost his campaign. He published a book called I Governor of California and How I Ended Poverty, written as if he had already won and solved all the problems. The book became a bestseller, but his campaign collapsed. Why? Because he had talked himself out of the fight. In his imagination, he had already achieved victory. So, the drive to work hard disappeared. He lost the election by over 250,000 votes. This is what ego does. It tricks us into talking instead of doing. Today, it's even easier. Social media constantly tempts us to share plans, post about our dreams, announce what we are going to do. But as Kierkegaard warned, to express what is still in thought weakens actions by foretelling it. Holiday gives the example of Emily Gould, a writer who got a six-figure book deal. Instead of writing, she spent endless hours blogging, tweeting, and curating posts. She justified it as a building her brand, but in truth, she was not writing her novel. For a year, the book made no progress because ego loves distractions over discipline. Chapter 2. To be or to do. Key idea. Do you want to be someone or do you want to do something? This question comes from Colonel John Boyd, a legendary fighter pilot and strategist. Boyd mentored young officers and posed this choice. Do you want to be somebody or do you want to do something? Being somebody means chasing titles, recognizing and validation. Doing something means focusing on real work, real impact, often without applause. Author warns that ego pushes us to seek the first option. We want to be known, rather than quietly building mystery, but history honors those who choose the second path. Example, William Tecumseh Sherman, one of America's greatest general. When offered a major command early in the Civil War, Sherman refused because he knew he was not ready. Imagine that, turning down promotion for the sake of competence. Later, Sherman became Lincoln's top general, leading the famous March to the Sea. His strength came from humility, not ego. So, lesson is, titles and fame are illusions. Focus on the work, not the label. Don't let ego trick you into chasing status instead of substance. Chapter 3. Become a student. Ego whispers, you are different. You don't need help. You are above all these people. Author reminds us that being a student isn't just about sitting in a classroom. It's an attitude, a willingness to learn from anyone, to be humble enough to say, I don't know. Author uses the example of Genghis Khan to show why humility beats ego. Genghis Khan is remembered as one of history's most feared conquerors, but his real strength was not just military power, it was his ability to learn. Unlike other tribal leaders who thought they knew everything, Genghis studies his enemies. He borrowed strategies from different cultures, adopted new weapons, and even learned siege tactics from the Chinese. His ego could have said, I am the ruler of the steppe. I don't need their ideas. But instead, he stayed a student his entire life. That humility helped him build the largest land empire in history. Contrast that with Alexander the Great. As a young man, Alexander had an incredible advantage. He was taught by Aristotle himself. He began as a student, disciplined and curious. But later, after conquering vast lands, ego poisoned him. He started believing he was a god, invisible and all knowing. He stopped listening to advisors. His decisions became reckless, like the disastrous campaign in India that cost countless lives and almost destroyed his army. What changed? Ego replaced humility. Alexander thought he had nothing left to learn, and that mistake cost him everything. So, choose to be a student always. There is no shame in learning. Even the most brilliant mind in history, from Socrates to Steve Jobs, understood this truth. The moment you stop learning, you stop improving. Chapter 4. Don't be passionate. Follow your passion. That's what the world tells us. Every motivational speaker repeats it like a mantra. Passion sounds exciting. It sounds bold. But author warns us. Passion is not the magic ingredient for success. In fact, passion can be dangerous. Why? Because passion is often uncontrolled energy. It burns bright, but burns out fast. Passion makes us rush. It makes us overconfident. It makes us blind to reality. Think about it. How many people start a new project full of enthusiasm, posting about it online, buying all the gear, making big announcements, only to quit a few weeks later when it gets hard? That's passion without discipline. Author gives us a stark example. Howard Hughes. He had money, drive, and ambition. He obsessed over his projects with intense energy. But that obsession, unchecked, became destructive. Hughes threw millions of dollars into film projects that never worked, into aircraft design that were impractical. His inability to restrain himself, his ego, drove him into isolation and madness. Author makes an important distinction. Passion is about excitement. Purpose is about endurance. Passion wants everything now. Purpose is willing to wait. Passion says, I'll do anything to win today. Purpose says, I'll do what's necessary to win forever. Chapter 5. Follow the canvas strategy. One of the greatest examples of this strategy, Benjamin Franklin. Before he became a founding father, Franklin worked as a humble printer. He promoted other writers' work, helped others shine, and rarely demanded credit. He believed that by making others look good, he would eventually create influence and open doors for himself. And he did. Franklin became one of the most respected men in history, all by starting as a servant to others' success. Now contrast that with the ego-driven approach, people who demand recognition before they have earned it, who ask, what is in it for me? They burn bridges, they chase applause instead of mastery, and in doing so, they sabotage themselves. Author's advice: instead of competing for the spotlight, create it for others. Instead of hoarding opportunities, share them. People will remember your generosity, and in time, the rewards will come. Chapter 6. Restrain yourself. When we start out, ego whispers, grab every opportunity, take every little, make your mark now. But the truth is, success built too fast collapses even faster. The greatest strength is patience, the ability to wait, to prepare, to master your craft before demanding more. Consider William Tecumseh Sherman again. At the start of the Civil War, Sherman had a chance to rise quickly. He was offered a major command, a big promotion that most men would kill for. Did he accept it? No. He said no to power because he knew he was not ready. Imagine that, a man refusing glory because he valued competence over ego. That decision changed his life. Sherman spent the early years learning, observing, building real strength. Later, when the time came, he was ready to lead the famous march to the sea, a campaign that helped end the war. A campaign that held that victory was not luck, it was preparation. Now think of those who rush, entrepreneurs who demand investors before they have a solid product, young athletes who crave fame before mastering fundamentals. They rise quickly and fall even faster. Chapter 7, Get Out of Your Own Head. Author shares the story of Malcolm X. As a young man, Malcolm chased status in Harlem. He wanted clothes, women, and respect. He lived for ego, and it destroyed him. Prison changed that. In prison, Malcolm killed his ego. He immersed himself in study, in purpose, in something greater than his own vanity. That transformation made him a leader, a voice for millions. When you stop obsessing over yourself, you gain power. You think clearly. You see reality. That's how great work happens. When you stop obsessing over yourself, you gain power. You think clearly. You see reality. That's how great work happens. Chapter 8, The Dangers of Early Pride. Early success feels good, but it's dangerous. Nothing feeds ego like a small win. We think I have made it when we have only just begun. And that pride blinds us to weaknesses, making failure inevitable. Author uses Napoleon as a warning. Napoleon rose fast, becoming a general at 24. His victories made him believe he was invisible, so he invaded Russia in winter, a disastrous decision that destroyed his army. His ego wrote checks reality couldn't cash. Chapter 9, Work, Work, Work. There is no secret formula, no magic hack, no shortcut. The only cure for ego and the only path to greatness is relentless work. Author quotes Irving Berlin. Talent is only the starting point. Everyone has talent. Few have the discipline to grind day after day. Ego makes us think we have arrived. Work reminds us that we have not. Example, John Boyd, the brilliant fighter pilot. Boyd didn't just dream strategy. He spent years writing his legendary paper, Aerial Attack Study. He transformed modern warfare. But it was not glamorous work. It was tedious, lonely, and exhausting. Boyd did it anyway. Chapter 10, Always stay a student. You have climbed the mountains. You have achieved some success. People are praising you, giving you awards, asking for advices. You feel smart, important, maybe even invisible. And that's exactly when ego strikes. It tells you, you know everything now. You have arrived, and the moment you believe that, you stop learning. That's the beginning of the end. That's why authors begins this section with the most important advice: always stay a student. When we succeed, we naturally feel confident, and confidence is good, but overconfidence is fatal. Ego makes us forget the habits that got us here: curiosity, humility, and hunger to improve. Author quotes Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If you believe you have mastered everything, your mind closes. You stop seeing new ideas. You stop adapting. And in the world that changes fast, that means failure. Even at the height of his power, Genghis Khan didn't stop learning. He continued to study his enemies, adopted their strategies, and refined his army. That humility allowed him to keep winning. So, the lesson is, success is not the finish line. It's the start of harder race, a race against ego. If you want to stay on top, you must keep saying, I am a student. Ask yourself daily, what do I still need to learn? Who can teach me? Because the moment you think you have arrived, you have already started failing. Chapter 11, Don't Tell Yourself a Story. Here's a dangerous habit success brings. We start creating stories about ourselves. We take a few achievements and weave them into a grand narrative. I am a genius. I'm destined for greatness. Everything I do turns to gold. These stories feel good, but they kill reality. And when you lose touch with reality, disasters follows. When you tell yourself a story, you stop focusing on what matters, the work. You start thinking about image, reputation, and how your story will look in a biography someday. Ego loves that fantasy. Reality does not care about your story. Holiday give us Howard Hughes again. Hughes was a genius, yes, but his ego turned him into a myth. In his own mind, he believed his legend. He thought he could do anything, no matter how impractical. He poured fortunes into films and aircrafts that never worked. His obsession with his story drove him to the isolation and madness. Contrast Bill Wallace, the legendary football coach, took the opposite approach. After turning the San Francisco from the worst team in the NFL into Super Bowl champions, Walsh refused to believe in a myth of invincibility. He stayed humble, kept preparing, kept improving system. That humility sustained his success for years. Chapter 12. What's important to you? When success comes, so the distractions. Opportunities multiply, invitations pour in. Everyone wants your time, your attention. Ego wants to say yes to everything. It wants to stay in the spotlight. But here's the question Ryan Holiday asked: what's truly important to you? Because if you don't decide, ego will decide for you and it will ruin you. Author explains that success often destroys people because they can't say no. They chase every deal, every stage, every ounce of fame, and in the process, they lose their purpose. For example, Marshall was one of America's greatest military leaders during World War II. He was offered glory, fame, even the chance to lead the D-Day invasion. But he refused. Why? Because he believed his highest duty was to serve where he was most needed. As Army Chief of Staff, managing the entire war efforts, his ego wanted the spotlight, but his character chose the mission. Chapter 13. Entitlement, Control, and Paranoia. Success changes the way people see you and the way you see yourself. Suddenly, you feel special. You feel like the rules don't apply. You feel entitled. And when entitlement grows, two things follow: the urge to control everything and the fear of losing it all. Ego whispers, you deserve this. You have earned the right to dictate. And if anyone threatens it, crush them. These three: entitlement, control, paranoia are ego's favorite weapons in the land of success. Author explains that entitlement begins with simple thought: I worked hard for this, so I deserve it all. But soon it becomes I deserve more than others. I deserve special treatment. That's when arrogance takes over. Example: Howard Hughes again. At the height of his career, Hughes acted like rules were beneath him. He believed his wealth and fame meant he could do anything. He believed his wealth and fame meant he could do anything. His sense of entitlement fueled reckless decisions leading to collapse. When success arrives, ego wants to control every detail. We think only I can do this right. But that mindset stifles growth and innovation. For example, many once great leaders fail because they could not delegate. They believed their genius was irreplaceable, but in truth, the inability to trust others is weakness, not strength. Contrast this with Bill Belichick, the NFL coach who consistently wins because he empowers his team, gives responsibility, and trusts the system. His lack of ego allows him to share credit and let others shine. The final trap, paranoia. The more successful you become, the more you fear losing it. Ego whispers, everyone's out to get you, protect your throne. That fear makes people act irrationally, hoard resources, and burn relationships. For example, Lyndon B. Johnson, one of the most powerful American presidents, became obsessed with controlling everything and everyone around him. His paranoia drove him into political disasters like Vietnam War escalation. Lesson: success does not entitle you to anything. You don't own control, and paranoia will only poison your mind. Humility, trust, and openness are the antidotes. So guys, in this video we covered till here, and rest will be covered in next part. So stay tuned. See you in next video. Thank you for watching.